We are live.
Good morning.
Good morning. Is it a good morning?
I feel like we start that every time. Is
So
it a good morning?
I think about this all the time, and it should not take over my brain waves this much, but it does. And I
Yeah.
don't know why. But I think about the fact that we say, well, in Spanish too, right? They say good day, and we say good morning, good
Mhm.
afternoon. And that is wrong. We should be saying, is it a good day? Is it a good morning? Not forcing a good morning onto you
Yes, yes.
when your children are yelling at you and you haven't gotten enough sleep and you're exhausted. It no, that's like you're gonna have a good morning no matter what. And I'm like, no, I probably won't. I'm just barely like hanging by a thread. No, I don't know.
Literally some days. Oh, today's one of those days for me. Hanging by a thread. Here, but
Hanging by a
hanging by a
thread.
thread. Yep. Okay, so I'm Liz.
I'm
Who are
Rachel.
you? You're Rachel?
Most days.
Yep, yep. Welcome to our podcast.
Podcast.
The Padcast. The Padcast.
Podcast.
Oh, I'm working on some music for our podcast because
Okay, I have
clearly
we
we're not
need we
getting any
need
help.
I know we need to talk about this
Okay, cool.
off air for a second because I
Yeah,
have some really good ideas, but I have forgotten to send them to you because my
excellent.
brain is so scattered this week.
Mm.
I to use your word, literally feel like I have the attention span of like a gnat, and I'm like, I can't like one thing. I have a no ah.
I have the same lately. I swear the older I get, the worse. It's so bad. Focus is hard. Focus is very hard.
Mm.
Um, well, our podcast outlines that 100%. My focus issue. Uh,
What are we talking about?
yeah, I don't remember. Oh dear God. Okay, okay, okay. So,
um
today,
today,
what are we talking about? Define this.
trust.
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 Hmm.
And
That's a big one.
it is a big one. We tackle the big ones. We just go right in, just
Right
dive
in,
in,
right in.
just 50 feet down already.
Yep.
No, I think that the reason I was
Going
thinking
in.
of trust is like um the correlation between like cult, really deep religion, faith movements and
Hmm.
their trust in what they're being told, right, can't be questioned, right? That's faith. That's what they consider faith.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Well, anybody
So,
who
and
believes in
then,
God is faith, not trust.
well, but you're trusting that your spiritual self
Yes.
is correct in assuming that this is a thing.
Right. You're trusting the church.
Every relationship is built on trust,
That is 100% true. If you don't have
including
trust, it's gone.
including your religious,
Yeah.
organization
Yeah.
or your
Yeah.
spiritual self to the spiritual.
Your job, it could come with your job. It can come with any types for sure.
Oh my God. Yeah. I just this reminds me, this is a perfect example, and I did not even think of it until right now. Um, one of my girlfriends, so I went to the Bay Area this past weekend to hang out with some girlfriends. And I met up with a girl that I went to my graduate program with, and she's now a mom and she's got two kids, and she's gorgeous. She does Afro Peruvian dance. Um and she started working for Oakland Unified School District as a dance teacher. So just
Okay.
recently, like within the past year, California passed some legislation that funds arts in
Oh my
all
God, that's
public schools.
amazing.
So,
That's
but
amazing.
yeah, and that includes like paying teachers that are
Right.
dance teachers, music, right?
Right,
And I'm
right.
like, this is amazing because it's usually always overlooked. And, they have
Well,
like
that's the
some,
first thing to go. First
yeah.
program to go is the
And I'm
art.
like, no, 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 actually, every single kid should have a dance education. But so that's the good news. And so Oakland Unified School District hired 9 dance teachers, which are split across all their schools. So
Sure.
like she'll teach at like two sites or whatever, and then right, they kind of split them up.
Yeah.
Um, she started, and I'm like, why are we having a teacher shortage? This exactly, but the trust level that she had
Okay.
to exercise, I'm like,
Yeah.
holy hell, I would have quit like the first day.
Right.
She had to wait almost 7 weeks for her first paycheck because HR department couldn't figure out how to get them on payroll. So like all
Oh
these,
my gosh.
yes, all these new hires rolled in, right? Not just dance, but a couple other ones too. Like I guess the front desk girl, attendance lady, or off front office
Yeah,
staff
yeah.
had the same problem. She had to wait like 8 weeks to get her first paycheck. But
Oh my
basically,
God.
HR just screwed up. So my girlfriend is like, after, and they pay you once a month.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So, the first month goes by and she's like, I don't have a paycheck, and so she's, of course, it's this bureaucratic nightmare to try and figure out
For
what went
sure.
wrong or what's going on. And did they actually, quote unquote, hire her? And is her contract?
Right.
It's all these legal things. And she was like, I was like this close to walking out the door. I was like, oh, honey, I would have just protested and not showed up and been like, I'll show up as soon as you send me my paycheck, because
Right.
but
Exactly.
that level of trust where you're like, I don't know, I've been working for a month and a half and I haven't seen a single dime of
Yeah,
my
that's
paycheck.
tough.
And I was just blown away. And then I'm like, yeah, and we wonder why we can't, like, we don't have enough teachers. And,
Right, right.
well, they're underpaid. Obviously, they may get paid. We don't know. It's kind
Yeah,
of,
yeah.
but that level of, but she was like, well, I didn't want to leave the kids. And I'm like, yeah, that's every good teacher is like, yeah, we don't want to like screw over the kids. We're still going to do our job. But at the same
Right.
time, it's like, yeah, but we still have to make money. And that's
You
just,
do
oh,
still have to support yourself. You do not want to be on the street.
she's got two
Right.
kids. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I don't know how you did that. But
Yeah.
that was that's a trust. You have a trust that when you go to work, you're going to get
You're gonna
paid.
get paid.
You have a trust that, when you get into your car, it's not going to, like the brakes
Breakdown.
aren't going to fail,
Right,
right?
right.
There's trust in like every single daily activity. But I thought in terms of our podcast and then our, book coming forthcoming, is that we need to like break down that idea of trust and what its relationship is to. So we got our trust broken. I mean,
100%.
like in so many different areas, like
Sure.
our figures of authority, our relationship to any kind of spiritual or religious
Hmm.
organization or higher being, or right,
Yes.
our just basic structure and organization of our life, in our circumference of our world, it was all
Right.
just shattered. And
Right.
so I thought it would be interesting, like to define for you, or we can talk about it, defining what it was like in, the cult, what it was like trying to, so defining that, and then also defining like, or how to, what we did coming out of that cult to reestablish trust in some of those relationships. Because it is directly related to that deep, deep level we had when we were formidable in our younger years
For
growing
sure.
up, that this was infallible. It was the one and only, that's what you do. And this was the one and
And
only
you were
authority.
not, yeah, and you were not allowed to question the trust. Like, you were not,
So that's part of
um,
it, though. That's part of the define.
yeah, is just like the trust you were expected to trust no matter what. I think trust is earned. It
We
should be earned.
discussed this a little bit, like with
Yeah.
when we talked about forgiveness and
Yeah.
right, that sort of thing. Same idea where
Sure.
you do give trust or you
Hmm.
place your trust into
Yeah.
something.
Yes.
with, a contract or an unspoken agreement, like faith. You
Right.
have faith, they're almost interchangeable. Faith is a spiritual connotation, and trust is sort of
I think
relational.
faith is believing in something you can't see. Trust can be broken. You know what I mean? I guess your faith can be broken too, but you're trusting a person.
Right, that's what
And
I
I feel
mean.
like
So trust
faith
has
is
more
like believing in something you can't see or explain.
right. But faith is also something, or trust is something you can't see or explain, but you have the evidence of it based on your
Yes, okay, there's
interpersonal
more. Okay.
relationships.
Well, then I guess people would say faith is the same. You're
Right.
right, because they say, well, God did this for me. Like this is his proof that he is, doing this in my life or whatever. So, um, or he provided. I mean, we could
We,
say that with like when we were struggling to eat and we would find food in the dumpster. We were like,
okay.
oh, thank God he let us
So,
find food in the
so
dumpster.
anyone in any other period of time would understand how batshit crazy that is.
I know.
Um, the thing about faith and science that just continually challenges my belief in humanity is the fact that, and I've heard it said over and over again in some podcasts and some things, if we destroyed all the science books today, every single one of them, and nobody believed in science anymore, right,
Yeah.
in another 100 years or 100,000 years, we would have the same exact science books because the theorems hold up, the math holds up. That is known. It is in our universe, that is known. We could recreate every single scientific theory, gravitational pull, right?
Well, not
Theory of
theory,
relativity,
scientific facts.
facts. Well, they're
Yeah.
theories. They're theories because, right? We're
Well,
constantly learning more, but they
yes,
would
but
the
science is
scientific
something that can be proven.
method. Yeah,
Yes.
the scientific method would come up time and time immemorial. It would
Right.
always come back the same. If we took every single religion out there today, Islam, Judaism, Christianity, Catholicism, any of them, and we burned everything, we threw it all away, guess what? It would never come back the same. Now, would we
Yeah.
find some other way of
Some other
expressing it
version or
or
yes.
doing it in a different?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, but not the same. It
Yeah.
wouldn't, right? All it is just an idea, and it's basically monkeys throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. And that's
Well,
how
and that's why there's so many versions of different things.
that's how batshit crazy it is, though.
Yeah.
It is so predatory in terms of our human vulnerabilities for something bigger than us because of our mindset that is based on trust and based on we need something bigger than us
Yeah.
to believe in, to live with our miserable lives, where I'm like, yeah, but we have science. Let's cull half the population and figure out how to make this planet not die. Well,
Yeah.
humanity, the planet's gonna
Mm-hmm.
be fine. I'm gonna sneeze.
Okay. Are you though?
It was right there.
It was there. It was
Right
there.
there. All right.
I saw it. Okay.
Anyway, but
Anyway.
the trust thing, though, is in religion, I feel it's predatory
Mm-hmm.
because the evidence that we think we get from that faith, right, or the
Yeah.
trust in that, is in our own damn minds. There is no personal relationship. Like, I trust that you're my sister, and like you're gonna tell me the truth, right?
Yeah.
And you're gonna call me out on my bullshit, and you're gonna, right? And
Yeah.
if I say I'm gonna meet you, in the morning for a podcast phone call, then we meet, and that's evidence of our trust. Yeah,
Right.
we got on the phone call, we did this, that.
Yes.
Then
Yes.
it's constantly reinforced that, okay, there's our trust or our faith in each other,
Sure.
that we're gonna do the things we say we're gonna do. Same thing with a job, but in religious context, I feel like it gets, any evidence of that is all internally we created ourselves, and that is not. that is not trust, you know? That's like you just said it, like something that's not there and we can't see, and then that's the
Right. Well,
difference.
that's God for, most religions. Um, you can't physically see him,
Right.
you know. So that's what I mean by faith and trust, but also people say they trust in God or they trust that God will do this or God will heal them or, these types of things. So they're believing that because maybe they've heard of somebody else that has that has done that before, like he's healed somebody else or, and if you don't believe in God at all, it could be just a scientific thing that, your body created this thing that made you immune or fixed the problem, or you ate differently and it fixed the problem. So people can contribute it to whatever they want to believe. I think that it boils down to basically how you believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
um Quick side note,
Sure.
someone sent us an email,
Yeah.
and I
Never
know
got it.
this. I know.
Yeah.
I know this
It
because they
never
were
came
like,
through. I'm thinking maybe they sent it to Sister Declassified or Sisters.
well, the other thing is I said, well, why don't you just forward it to my personal, because it's someone I know.
Okay.
And they said they did, but I was like, I still haven't gotten it. So that's ongoing. But
Okay.
anyway, so Liz, since
Mm-hmm.
you're supposed to be the define this person, I know I talked a lot there.
That's
Um,
okay.
what is what did trust look like for us in IFB culture growing up? So what did it look like? Give us an example. Did you and you already said it was unquestionable,
I
which
mean,
is
you
sort
weren't
of
allowed to say it out loud in our minds and in my mind, especially at the age of my abuse. I believed that this person that I trusted was not somebody I could trust any longer. That was a trust
what do you
breaking moment.
okay,
There was,
so that's a trust breaking moment.
yeah,
And
I'm
then
trying to think of like actual trust scenarios. I trusted that what they told me that I had to be there or God was not going to forgive me, whatever. I mean, we were there. Mom made us go. There was no actual, I think when you're a child, you're not really given as many opportunities, necessarily free will to trust. Does
we
that
were
make
not.
sense? Yeah. Well, we definitely weren't. Um, but I don't, because your parents are the ones telling you what you have to do and who you have to go with, and they may trust them, but as a child, you don't really. I just trusted that, and well, I trusted my mom,
Right.
you know, we trusted mom. I trusted that mom knew what she was doing. I mean, raising three children on her own with the help of a cult.
Takes a village.
I think
It
it
takes a
does.
cult.
The cult's not the answer.
Well, here, let me ask you this, Liz.
Okay.
Because I think, okay, bigger and better.
Okay.
No, you remember that
Mm-hmm.
that whole thing, bigger and
Yeah.
better.
Yes.
Remember what we did? Okay.
Oh my
So,
God.
okay, there's a couple things there. One is the trust that you put in, like going into the physical neighborhood and talking to people that you weren't going to get harmed, or right. There's
Yes.
some implicit trust that's already given and taken there. So
Yeah.
that's one thing. Talk about that. And then the second part of that in trust is that once we did that thing, the bigger and better. I'm going to explain this for you listeners. Liz is going to in just a minute. But I'm guiding you because I think this is what we're talking about. So there's the trust in the actual doing of that fundraiser. Mm-hmm. And then the second part of that is the trust that, okay, well, we just got all this money and we give it to you.
Yeah.
For XYZ.
That was
okay.
the trust moment.
Okay. So talk about that because nobody knows what we're talking about right now.
Yeah. Okay. So
what was it?
This is probably from 7th grade on for both of us. Mm-hmm. We were in a youth group that we trusted the leaders, and we would have fundraisers to go on trips because we went on probably 1 to 2 trips a year. We would go to Indiana. We would go on like road trips, like with a yellow bus. We trusted that bus was going to get us the heck there.
It's exactly what you guys think it is too. Yep.
Oh yeah. We drive, thousands of miles on these buses that they had purchased for like $1,000 back in the day, But anyway, we would do fundraisers and we would go from house to house. So we would go up to the first house and we would say, "Hi, we are from blah, 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 Cornerstone Baptist Church youth group, and we are having a fundraiser. And we are wondering if you have something in your house that you would give us for free."
Yeah,
it can be anything.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't they start us all out with like a dozen eggs?
No, because that was an eggathon.
Okay.
So bigger and better. So you would say, "I want something from your house." I mean, we had multiple fundraisers, but want something from your house that you would give me for free. So, I mean, I would be like, okay, let me think about this. So, I mean, we would get a pen, or we would get sometimes people would give us $10, Well, then you took whatever they gave you. And most people,
they're like, honestly, beggars, get off my porch.
We're pretty freaking good about doing this fundraiser. So then we would go to the next house and we would say, "Hi, we are from Cornerstone Baptist Church Youth Group, and we are trying to raise money to go to a youth conference. And we would like to see if you have something bigger and better than this, whatever it was, this pen or this, $10. And so it would go like that until you got something pretty freaking massive. Like, I remember one time we got like we would get furniture,
a toilet.
We would get all these things, and then we would like sell them to make the money. So it was a total waste of time. Now the eggathon was a better moneymaker, which is what we started doing after the bigger better. Which what we would do is we would start out with an egg, and we would go to a house and we would say, "Hi," give our spiel again. "We are wondering how much you will give us for this egg." And they would give you an amount of money. Then you go to the next house and you're like, "Hi, I just sold my last egg to your neighbor. Do you have an egg I can have?" And then you would take that egg and you would go to the next one and sell it. Those were good. It was a better fundraiser. Although in this day and age, I think if kids went out and did that, people would be like, "What the hell?"
They get the cops called on them.
Oh yeah, we did get the cops called on us before. It was kind of interesting, and a lot of people would participate. We did raise quite a bit of money doing that. But when we're done with the fundraiser, we would have 2 girls at a time. So there was 2 girls and 2 boys together in these groups that would go from house to house. And I mean, we are like these naive,
Handmaid's Tale dressed motherfuckers.
Yes, covered from head to toe. Hair is our covering, covered our ears, all of the things. And we looked innocent as F.
Yeah.
And
it was like Mennonite.
We had no fear. We trusted that these people were going to give us
trust. Yeah. Oh no. And there was like, I don't think any of us, well, at least you and I know for sure. Like, we never went out with any fear. that
No.
somebody would deny us. I mean, every once in a while we get rejected, but we trusted that people were going to do this. They were going to
Yeah.
participate. We also trusted like nobody was going to hurt us. Like we weren't going to get kidnapped. We weren't
Yeah.
going to get harmed by dogs or,
Right,
there was
right.
some absolute trust given there that
Absolutely.
was out of complete naivety. Like
Yes.
ooh, just stupidity, basically.
Yeah. And then we would hand over our money at the end of the day to the leader and think, oh, this is amazing. This is going to go towards our trip. I'm
We
pretty
thought,
sure a lot of that money went in pockets
oh yeah,
because of the way our trips went. They would have 12 people in a room, everybody sleeping on the
hotel
floor.
room,
One hotel room, yeah. Um, we would eat
peanut butter
stuff
jelly.
from the local food bank.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, I mean, and there was a car wash I remember where we raised $10,000. We had a car wash where we raised $10,000. We did that every weekend, for the entire,
Summer.
yeah, many, many, many months. And I mean, just the thousands of dollars. The fundraiser you and I went on, where we trusted that they would pay our trip. Um, my sister and I did a fundraiser on our own because nobody else showed up. We raised several $1,000s from our
Yeah.
families. Um,
Family,
but
friends,
we always
neighbors.
trusted that they were going to do that. I think mom had less trust than we did after we got
In
screwed a few times. Yeah,
oh yeah.
in that. But we would go on these trips and we thought, oh, it's because of our hard work. But I'm pretty sure that not much of that money actually went into
No,
those trips. No,
there was no fiscal
there
transparency.
was no accountability for that money. Right. It was
Yeah.
a literal shit show. Because then when the trip would come up, they'd be like, "Oh, everyone needs an additional $250."
$300. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is
And
basically
so
what they use to buy peanut butter and jelly and white bread.
yes, sloppy joes
Or
out of a can.
gas. Or
But I mean,
gas.
do you remember eating all the cereal, expired cereal and milk? My gosh. They would go, there
No.
was this food bank in our town that was it was 17 cents a pound.
Yeah.
And they would go
And
there and
because
load
it
up on
was,
food.
well, it's because it was a nonprofit.
Yes.
Fuck churches for that.
Yeah.
They would go buy bulk foods at 17 cents a pound because they were church,
Mm-hmm.
non-taxable. And then yeah, they would feed us with that shit, which we basically paid twice for.
Right. Or 4 or 5 times.
So
Anyway.
the trust there though was kind of
Yeah,
like,
there was a lot of trust. We trusted that they were putting the money in this thing and we were going to have this awesome trip. We trusted that there was, that we were not going to be harmed from going door to door. I mean, we did that in our soul winning efforts as well.
yeah,
Go up to strangers on the street, go down to speak with all the homeless people, which I don't think that homeless people are um scary, you know what I mean? But as young, naive children, we were going up to people who, possibly could be on drugs, possibly could intoxicated, whatever. There was so many things. Um, we had no fear. We trusted that this is what we were supposed to do, and our leaders had told us what we were supposed to do, and we were going to talk to these people and save their souls. And we were, we trusted 100% that we were safe.
yeah,
And this was going to be fine.
right. So, and that's sort of
So,
what it was like. I mean, throughout our upbringing in that.
for
So
sure.
there was always an implicit amount of trust that without really even being aware of it too much that
Yeah,
we gave
sure.
and we put into it um without question.
Yeah. So, what is your experience, or what do you think? Can you think of
Um
moments where you knew you trusted something?
Not so much.
Yeah.
I think I distrusted everything from the very get-go, but
Yeah.
I was always questioning stuff. I do think that I certainly had that. I feel like every time we went out, like soul winning or went on a fundraiser, I had to like pull out a personality,
Fair enough.
meaning I didn't want to go. I didn't think this was on the up and up. I was
Yeah.
kind of doubting,
Right.
whether I really wanted to do it or not, if I was
Sure.
absolutely in or not. Same thing with the car washes. But then you kind of like, you put on a face. Like
Mm-hmm.
when you meet relatives you really don't want to fucking see. And
Yeah.
you kind of have to just like throw on the face
Yeah.
and pretend you're interested in what they have to say and act like you give a shit.
Yeah.
And you just don't. So there's a personality that you kind of have to throw a persona, right?
Yes.
Someone outside of yourself who you're not. So you're projecting who you think you should be
Sure.
for that situation in a fundraiser. So you kind of create that personality. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
not talking about like woo woo crazy, I'm listening to voices in my head.
Yes. Yes.
I'm saying that you have to fake it till you make it,
Yeah.
um, sort of go through the motions until it, you see some success and then you're like, okay, it's kind of working. All right,
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. Um,
I I remember the first time I remember my trust being broken. Um, was I mean the trust being broken was in I think I was in fourth or fifth grade, and one of my teachers told us uh something that we were going to do, and we all got excited about it. Of course, raise money, the whole thing. We were selling candy bars, I believe, at the time.
World's
And
famous
then,
chocolate bars.
yep. And then she said the person who sold the most was getting $100, and she didn't give me $100, and I sold the most. So, and I remember being so angry and so pissed about that. And mom was just like, you know, maybe you misheard the thing or whatever, because mom always tended to take the side of authority, which I don't necessarily think is, I mean,
That's
I
what
think
she
that
was taught
I think a lot of parents do that. I don't necessarily think it's the correct way to do that.
all the time. No,
But
but
there are also the parents who only believe their child, and their child is full of shit, and they take their side no matter what. So there are both extremes. But I remember that. And that was like the first time I was just like, oh my gosh, I worked my ass off. I mean, we were super young, going door to door selling wrapping paper and stuff out of a catalog that I found in the mail. We had a lot of trust in people, but I remember the candy bars. We sold out. So I had you as my health, unwilling participant. We stood outside of Safeway, Pick and Save,
Safwa.
all those stores, Safeway, and sold candy like every waking hour after school and church. So and I sold the most, and it was a fundraiser for the school, which there you go again. They didn't pay their teachers crap, so who was getting all that money? You know,
Yeah,
mind blowing, mind blowing. Anyway,
I know.
I have the
I
same
mean,
problem
and
with
and those
education
are
now.
all, yeah, those are all traits of classic cult behavior though, is like, yeah, you
Yeah,
pour everything into it with this
sure,
promise of something and then yeah, it doesn't materialize quite the way you wanted it. And
expected.
then all of a
Yeah,
sudden, but then you're roped in again for something that's even bigger and better.
yeah.
And yeah, kind of a pattern. Um,
So we kind of know what trust is, and then so we need to go into like how to trust, which I think goes back to how did we learn to trust, or how did we,
so
after.
one thing I don't think that So I think this goes back to accountability and actions, actionable accountability. So we weren't given the choice to trust, we were forced to trust. So
Mm-hmm.
we were never allowed to extend that or to actually do that. For me, I just don't think I ever did. I don't think I trusted anything. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
had more to do with like dad, that
Yeah.
whole thing, because that was really early in my development.
Yeah.
And that definitely set a tone for the, most of my life. And I think in chunks of my life, I've gone to where I was like, oh, I can do this, I can trust this person, this relationship, this, company, this organization, this boss, this
Mm-hmm.
right, education system, whatever. And then forget at times that trust is based, it's an action. It
Yeah.
is a constant back and forth of, I'm going to say I'm going to do this and then I do it. And then you're going to say you're going to do this and then you do it. And that builds, right, a foundational structure of trust, which, the wider and the bigger and the stronger the foundation it is, the harder it is to knock down. So if
Yeah.
somebody fails you once, and you have this massive structure, I think of it like a pyramid of some kind, you have this massive structure underneath it. Well, then maybe it just knocks off the top third of that
Yeah.
structure, because you have a lot of actionable accountability
Well,
underneath
sure.
that makes you secure in that, even if you
Yes.
lose a little bit. And
You
then you
can break a little
continue,
bit of trust and
right,
still have trust in somebody.
right.
Yes.
And since, I mean, so I think probably more subconsciously than I even want to admit,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm probably more conscious of it than I'd like to admit.
Yeah.
Also, is
Mm-hmm.
that I keep track. I mean, I do. I keep track. If I'm in a relationship and they're not being accountable by their actions,
Yeah.
it, trust is action, just like love is action.
Yeah.
Your words don't mean shit to me. You
Yeah.
can tell me, because that's what we were taught. We were taught that words are trust, and I'm going to tell you I'm going to do this. Oh, but then I'm not going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Oops. That's
Yeah.
not trust. That's not love. That's not care. That is the absolute opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I'm like, don't tell me anything. Show me.
Yeah.
Always show me.
Mm-hmm.
If you really believe that, then show me. If
Yeah.
you show up for me and you show me that's what you're doing, then
Sure.
I'm going to believe you and I'll start to think about trusting you. So for
Yeah.
me, the trust is, it's so much more work on your part and my part. You have to
Yeah.
trust me too. So I need to show up.
Sure.
I need to be accountable, and I need to make sure I'm investing in the trust that you're giving to me, and you need to
Yeah.
do the same for me. So it is a
Mm-hmm.
back and forth, just like love. You can't say you love someone and then never show up for them. You can't
Right.
say you trust someone and then constantly, right, undermine that by not showing up. And I mean,
Right.
of course, there's always extremes,
Of course.
you always have, oh, okay, well, I had a, mental breakdown, like our last week's podcast. There are
Mm-hmm.
some times that I'm not capable of showing up, and I know that.
Yeah.
But you know what? I'll tell you that I'm not capable right now. I am just
Mm-hmm.
not here. One thing I think in my adult life, especially later in my adult life, so, and what I mean is this: after roommate 4, well, about when roommate 4 was in, like, starting to get older in high school, she got her independence because she started driving,
Mm-hmm.
and then between that point, kind of, and now, is my adult relationships, and particular, it's not male or female, it's just adult friendship relationships,
Mm-hmm.
is that I've even noticed in myself where I'm just not showing up sometimes. Right. And I'm like, well, what is that? I mean, I'm trying to parse it out. What is it?
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of it goes back to the fact that, well, a lot of my adult relationships, some of them don't have kids, or they've never had kids, or they're not going to have kids. And there are a few. There are probably three, maybe,
Mm-hmm.
outside of like you, right? That have showed up for me
Mm-hmm.
like throughout that.
Yeah.
And I don't have that show upness from the rest of them when I was the single mom and like I'm in a bind and I am having a hard time, but nobody ever really like,
Sure.
right? Those few and far between ones, I tend to show up more for them. And I know that that sounds a little crass, but at the same time, it's because there's not a trust layer built yet.
Yeah.
Now, that is also as much my fault as it is my friends that I'm like, why am I just not showing up? Well, sometimes it's just work. I'm exhausted. Sometimes it I just want like a moment to myself to not fucking be around people.
Right.
Right. But then I'm like looking at that a little more closely and I'm like, okay, is it that I don't trust them? I don't think so. I think it's that I don't feel like they trust me. And right, there's a correlation there between the two. So why am
Sure.
I not showing up for them? Right? Is it me or is it them? And
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a bit of both. A little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. But how do I trust? I look at what you do. I don't listen to what you say. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that you and I learned
Mm-hmm.
from growing up in that experience is you can say whatever you want. You can be the smoothest talker, which all of them
Oh
were.
my
By the way,
God.
all of them were silver tongued, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
politicians, if we want to
Yeah.
break it down.
Yeah.
So they would say what you needed to hear at the time to make you do exactly what they wanted you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Manipulation, mind
Oh my
fucking,
God.
gaslighting to the hilt.
Yeah.
So for me, I love words. I am absolutely going to listen. And especially if it's someone I do have trust with. Yeah, I
Yeah.
need to hear words of affirmation. I need to hear, things, but I am
Mm-hmm.
going to listen to those, take them to heart, but then watch what the fuck you do.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? If you're not doing things, then no, I'm sorry. Go the fuck away. Like I don't have
Yep.
time for that anymore.
Yeah. No,
And so
I've lost a lot of friendships over the years because of that. Um, Actions. Oh my God, so much better than words. I think my last job gave me PTSD from the cult. I mean, I'm serious.
I could see that as it was happening. Yeah,
Yeah. So, the manipulation, the mind control, the try and take all of your time, you know what I mean? That kind of stuff and getting so wrapped up in it. Um, that was, I mean, and I didn't see it until I'm outside of it. So can a job be a cult? Maybe. I don't know. I think people get like too involved in their job sometimes. I think it's okay to love your job, but I don't think that um being 24/7. I mean, we were on trips and I could not freaking quit working. I mean, you remember.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, so definitely so working for myself is definitely the way to go. I don't think that I can work for someone else. I have too much loyalty. I think that's one thing that I've never got rid of. And loyalty and trust kind of are hand in hand a little bit.
Absolutely.
Um,
I think
yeah,
that's true. And I think that you're much better at giving trust and giving
yeah,
loyalty like immediately and
mhm,
liberally.
yeah,
I do tend to, I think we both are this way, where I will give you the benefit of the doubt until you prove me wrong, but you prove me wrong once, especially if
hmm
it's early in a relationship of any kind. I'm talking about employment, um,
hmm
relationship,
hmm
right,
yeah,
right, any of those things, friendships,
yeah,
right. You prove me wrong early in the relationship with your actions, then I'm
hmm
out. I'm
yeah,
much more able to just go, no, sorry. Mm-mm. Because yeah, and I wouldn't say I've been burned more than you, not at any way, shape, or form. But I do think it's because I was
you
probably
have
earlier.
a different way of looking at the world than I do. And also, um, I am more trusting than you are. I think just in general.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that that's true. I
Yeah.
remember when I had kids and I thought I don't fucking trust anybody, with my kids. And I definitely was a little bit of a crazy, overprotective mother for a long time until my kids started getting older. And then I still tried to do that, but they were extremely good at, because I was so overprotective, at hiding and sneaking and, doing so many things that I would have never allowed. Um,
Well, all kids are like that to some degree.
yeah, but I mean, I think that mine got really fucking good at it because, like, I hear stories now. I'm like, holy shit. Um, like it's kind of scary, but it is actually very scary. But the overprotectiveness, I saw something on Facebook the other day and it said, I would rather be the overprotective mom than the sorry mom. And I'm like, sometimes it doesn't fucking help.
It
You're
doesn't
still
help.
the sorry mom. Yep. Um, so anyway, but I don't think you can trust anybody, and I don't think you should trust anybody until they prove themselves to you.
Hmm.
Um, they need to build
Earn
that.
it.
And you need to do that with other people too.
Yeah, it goes both
It
ways.
is
It's a
a
two.
two-way street. With any relationship, you have to do things for someone else that builds their trust with you.
I'm gonna ask you a question
Okay.
about your experience at the prior employment.
Okay.
So thinking about like how hard you worked and how much you did,
Hmm.
um, just I don't know, in a sentence or a word, or what did you get out of it that made you do it? Like, what was your reward?
So I've always been money motivated.
Right. But were you
So
getting money that was
me doing
compensate?
this. Also, I was thinking that I was setting myself up for a better position. Does that make sense?
So,
So like,
but were you told that?
no. But I thought by doing a good job that I would prove that I was worth doing something else. Um, so that's why I worked my ass off. Also, I dealt with people. Like I dealt with so many people and with complaints and problems. And I had a boss who would overpromise to people during COVID, no doubt. And then it was my responsibility to deliver, and I couldn't because it was COVID and you couldn't get anything. And so I found myself running around like a chicken with my head cut off. And at the end of COVID, I thought, well, this is great. My pay's going to go up, blah, blah, blah. Nope. Oh, we're going to cut your pay. Like it was just like a freaking knock you off your horse situation. But I definitely, and I put 100% into anything that I do. I'm that
You do.
person.
Absolutely.
Um,
You do that
I don't,
so well.
I don't half-ass things. If I want to do it, I'm going to do my best. And I did my best for 5 years and it did nothing for me. Like
Okay.
nothing for, I was thinking my career wise, I guess
Yeah.
it was a career thing. It was a career
I
thing.
think
Thought,
I think that you're right, and I would agree with you and support that because I do think that even I, from talking with you like during and right
uh-huh.
throughout that whole job, I and wrongly so now because I didn't even know that. I thought that you had a contract and that if you reached this thing that you would get this, right?
No, no, I was
Okay,
paid on commission. So
I
basically it
know.
was
No,
commission
but
based. Yeah.
based on what our conversations were, I
Yeah.
thought also that there was a potential position for you that was going to open up and that you were working
There,
towards that. So that
yes,
was
there was, but it wasn't ever said
It
This
wasn't in
can be yours.
writing.
I was
Yes.
working for that position. Yes, towards.
It
Anyway,
wasn't ever in writing, so you never
right.
had that conversation. You never got it in
Absolutely.
writing. Okay.
Absolutely.
So then I'm going to contrast that a little bit with
Mm-hmm.
my experience at the last studio I worked at teaching
Uh-huh.
Pilates, and that was group classes. And I felt like I got a little bit abused. So they would always overbook my classes, meaning I had to do a lot more work, although I
Right.
was paid per head to some degree, up
Yeah.
to a certain limit, right? So I think the year before I quit, where I was just like, I'm done, I can't deal with you anymore. We had a company quote unquote meeting, which is BS because I was an independent contractor. So it's not as though I have any investment in the company
Right.
whatsoever, although I was bringing in a bang load of money for this owner because all of my classes were just absolutely full and I had, tons of business for her.
Sure.
That company meeting, we sat down and she broke down this little schedule and she was like, well, if we hit this amount of, if you hit this amount of sales, blah, 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 that we go this, then I'm going to raise your pay this much. And I was like, absolutely fair. I'm in. I worked my
Yeah.
ass off. Came time the next year and I was like, here's what I did. Where's my raise?
Mm-hmm.
And she whatever, she wanted to negotiate at that point where she was going to say, oh no, well, we kind of didn't hit this mark exactly, blah, blah, blah. And I'm going to give you, half of whatever the raise was
Mm-hmm.
promised.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point I was like, nope, I'm out. So from that moment on, I was kind of like,
Yeah.
don't give a fuck. And the second I
Yeah.
got the opportunity to go out and do it on my own, I did. And
Yeah.
I was in every way, shape, or form absolutely ethical
Mm-hmm.
about how I left and about how I did it because I didn't want, every single private client that I had, I was like, look, I'll set you up with another trainer. I'm leaving. I'm going to go do my own thing. But, here, and then all but one of my clients came with me
They weren't there for the studio. They were there for you.
because I'm like,
Yeah.
but I was ethical about it. And I was
Right.
trying to be fair to her business because it's not my business. I was an independent contractor. This was just, I'm working in her studio, in her space. So I was being very cognizant of that and trying to do it correctly. However, you just can't fix stupid. And I was not, so I was promised this thing. You know what I mean? I was sitting in this room, in this space, and going, okay, if you
Mm-hmm.
hit this, then we're going to do this for you. And she didn't deliver. And so I was
Yeah.
like, I'm out. I'm sorry. I don't have time for that. The
Yeah.
same thing happened with the job I just quit. I was just kind of treated like not that great.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the whole, it's been 2.5 years now. Um, and it was just I kept getting shat on.
Mm-hmm.
And then, basically I had a last straw occur. And I was like, nope, I'm out. Sorry. I can make more money on my own doing my own thing. I don't
Yeah.
have time to sit around and listen to your empty promises. You asking me to do more without equitable pay for doing more. No,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do that. And that's financial and that's business relationship wise.
Sure.
I wish I were as good in personal relationships. I'm trying. That's a good thing for me to work on is to go, you know what, in personal relationships, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
If you, show up for me, one time out of 10, then I should take that. And you're
Yeah.
telling me how much I mean to you and how much you trust me
Right.
and how much
Right.
I should trust you. You're telling me that.
Yeah.
Okay. Then that means I don't trust you. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not in the circle of friends. And that's sort of I think where I was telling you with what circle of trust.
I'm thinking of that Ben Stiller movie. Like,
Wait, was that the
oh
Fockers?
my God, what is it called?
Zoolander?
Oh, huh? He's
Zoolander?
like an undercover CIA agent and he has the trailer and they go visit the in-laws.
Meet the
Oh my,
Fockers. Meet the
meet the
Fockers.
Fockers. You're my circle of trust.
Circle of trust.
Like circle.
Circle. You're in the circle.
Oh
Oh,
my god, I'm dying. Okay. Anyway.
I need to make a New Year's resolution to watch more Ben Stiller
Oh my god, he's amazing. Literally. He's
and
so
Will Ferrell.
yes.
By the way,
Oh,
both good guys in real life.
well, maybe. I've never met them.
No, I'm just saying their public persona
Yes, yes.
is they're not that far off of what their private is. Oh,
Oh man.
circle of trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that's the same with like adult relationships too, where I'm like, I reassess a lot. I'm like looking at it going, okay, no, I've showed up for you. You showed up for me. Okay, we're gonna stay friends and continue. And I do think
Yeah.
it gets smaller or more contained, but I also think it's really important to also seek out other people too
Mhm.
in different groups and stuff. Like volleyball was that for me.
Yeah.
You know, there's different circles that you kind of have to like cull the chaff,
Hmm.
right? And just go,
Yeah.
nope, you're not a good friend. You're not showing up. You're not
Yep.
actionably accountable to a
Yeah,
relationship, even if
for
it's a
sure.
friendship. Anyway,
Yeah.
so um how do you think you deal with trust? Last question right now in your adult life
Um,
or
I think that my first impression is to always trust people, but I think that I'm a little um I'm like trust with a little bit of hesitation. You know what I mean? Like when you meet new people. Um,
lowercase t.
yeah, lowercase t. Um, because I don't, and I don't know if trust is the proper word for that, but um I take people at their word right at the bat until they give me a reason not to, you know.
Show me otherwise.
Um,
Yeah.
hmm So anyway, but been many, many people in my life that trust. I mean, I think I probably have three friends, like outside of you,
Yeah.
or people that I feel like I can trust that are outside of family. Like I can think of three people that would drop everything, come help me. I would do the same for them.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, I have hundreds of acquaintances.
Oh yeah. Same.
You know what I mean? And like use the term fruit loosely, friends, um, because there's not that level of trust, but they're I say acquaintances, but we always use the term friends loosely. Like I'm going to my friends, or I'm going out with some friends.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I like the meme that's going around right now where we should just say like bestie Sarah, bestie Liz, because that's kind of right. Like the nuns do, like
yeah,
sister Sarah, sister Liz. So I'm just gonna say bestie Sarah,
yeah, love
bestie,
it,
right?
love
I
it,
think
love
that's
it.
that's because that like bestie implies a higher level of friendship where we
Yes,
do, and acquaintances also feels very standoffish and
yeah, it
like you're at
really
a
does. And
distance,
I feel like they're more than acquaintances,
right?
right? Um, so I mean, I enjoy hanging out with them, or I enjoy, whatever with them, but I don't want to trust them with, you know,
They're not in your
something
circle of
important.
trust.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Anyway. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I'm in the same boat. But I do think it's really, I mean, I think as we age that there's a pro and a con there. As we age, the most important thing we can do is cultivate. The first part of cultivate
Hmm.
is cult.
That is true.
Also culture, but to cultivate deeper and more, vibrant personal relationships with people, because
Hmm.
as we age, I mean, we may live longer than them, we may die, But
Yeah.
that you lose friends as you get older, to
Mhm.
death, disease, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think the ability to really see and grow and, try and make those really deep, good relationships where you do have good trust with someone, to thrive and to feed those and to try and like really basically just blow the chaff away,
Yeah.
it is really important, because those are the people you're going to need when you're like, how the fuck do I get through menopause? Yeah. Like, you should be
How
writing a
the fuck do
notebook.
I get through menopause?
Yes, you should be writing a notebook right now. Like, we need it. We need a blog, of like, what the fuck do you do? I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. All these women, especially like our mom's age and above, like they all just went through it and shut the fuck up and didn't even ask questions. And I don't, and I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I have all the questions. And every time I go to the doctor,
Right.
I'm like, so what's going to happen? Are we going to test my hormones? I don't know. Is this weird? Is it normal that I sweat? What's going on with my armpit muscle right now? I mean, I'm
Right.
asking a shit ton of questions, and the doctors are all like, Jesus fucking Christ, lady. And I'm like, well, I want to know. I want to fucking know. Like, what the fuck is going to happen? Is my vagina going to
Right.
like fall off and dry out? I don't know. Like, what happens? You know? What? You don't know.
Oh my gosh.
Ugh,
Oh dear. Anyway, yeah, that's a little challenging. I I think you should ask questions, Rachel.
I do. I,
Oh,
I I don't think I've ever not.
yeah,
Um,
I think you more than me, but I have gotten better the older I get at instantly knowing if somebody
if
is a good
someone's,
human or
oh
not.
my God, I think I told
The
you. I think I've
ability
said
is
this
crazy.
before. Oh yeah, no, and it's trust your gut and trust your instincts. Part of the reason, and I think this goes, movement, period, movement, body
Yeah.
movement, because that's sort of my language is movement.
Uh,
But I think I've said this before on the podcast, so sorry, listeners, for rehashing it. But when I was dating, I said, I'll give you 30 seconds.
yeah.
In 30 seconds, I can sum up how much of a douche canoe you are, or if you're kind of like, at least, I mean, the fact that like somebody like drops their phone or some shit, when you first meet them, how they react to that and how they respond to that in a like first interaction tells you almost everything you need to know about that person, right?
Yeah.
If they go to the wrong spot, right, and they have trouble finding you, how they
Right.
deal with that tells you almost everything you need to know. So, in that 30 seconds, it it tells you a lot about a person, and that first impression, I don't put all my eggs in that basket,
Sure.
but a hell of a lot. And because of my movement background, I'm like, based on the way you move and the way
Hmm.
you're responding, you can tell it from posture, you can tell it from if they're facing you, if they're facing
Yeah.
away,
Yeah.
if they don't look at you in the eye, if they treat the waitress, and all of that matters.
It
But it
does.
is very true. And I'm not a big second, I will give you a second chance, but I'm not a big second chance person
Yeah.
anymore. And that may be unfair, but I don't think it is, based on what I know of body language, movement,
Yeah.
interaction, all of that. I'm like, no, I think you should go maybe learn some more. And then if you want to,
Yeah.
figure your shit out and come back later, maybe. Anyway,
For sure.
all right. Did
Trust
we
is a
wrap it up?
journey.
Did we do
Yep.
the thing?
Do the
Did we do
thing.
the thing?
I think we did the thing. We talked a lot anyway.
I know. Felt like
For
there was a
like an
lot of
hour.
talking. I know.
Yeah,
Fuck.
we're always
All
good
right.
at talking. All right. We will
Okay.
catch you next time on the
Catch you
podcast.
next time.
Yep.
We we
Always, you can
we
email us. We welcome your emails, sistersdeclassified@gmail.com. And what else?
we are live on
Uh,
YouTube.
We we are live on YouTube. We also have Facebook and Instagram. Not very active, just started pages, so we will begin
You
to
can
post
find us
there.
on the socials. Okay.
You can find us on the socials. Yep.
All righty.
Okay.
Well,
See you
till next
later.
time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.